Good morning, and welcome back to Mission Reload Gaming. I'm Jack, and today we're going to go over the new patch notes. Starmade version 0.201.126, the weapon update. As I read this, you can watch my little cool stick mining drones, the only ones that work after the update. Haha. Pulverize asteroids. So, here we go. From Schema. Greetings, citizens. After over 100 dev builds, the weapon update is finally here. It might even be bigger in scope than the power update, but not only introduces a lot of new features, it also has complete redesigns and code reworks of parts of the code base. It also comes with fixes for a lot of more serious bugs, as well as stability updates and a lot of minor fixes. As always, make sure you do a full backup on your world and blueprints. We tested both fresh installation and upgrade multiple times and couldn't find any problems, but there's always a risk. The weapon handling, projectile, and block processing code has been completely rewritten, as well as parts of the missile system and a lot of other back-end systems to improve performance and stability. This also allows for a lot faster development for these systems from here on out. In context of the main focus of this update, we also improved combat stability and performance a lot, as well as we hopefully fixed most of the nasty bugs that were affecting the combat in the last release. There might be some issues with some systems losing server sync temporarily under load, but for those we addressed in the follow-up cleanup update. Features. We set out to do an update mainly to make combat and ship battles more interesting and fun. On the back end, this also gave us a chance to completely redesign the code of weapons and other usable modules in the game. A new code design was already partly set up with the power update, and this update completes it. To make a more complete package, new features and improvements have been added all across the board. Weapon and tool redesign. The goal is to make weapons and their combination a lot more unique, while still being a viable option. Some weapons might be easier to use than most, but others could have much higher payoff when used properly. As each weapon combination has a clear positive and a clear negative, it is up to you to decide what weapon best to make. We also wanted to give weapons and combat a general better feeling. This incorporates a broad spectrum of features, including the HUD, which is awesome and beautiful, by the way, recoil, explosions, physical force, damage, armor, and many more. While we change and added on existing weapons, we did remove the damage pulse entirely, as it had no real purpose anymore. It also reduced the amount of combinations possible, which allowed us to concentrate more on the remaining ones. The acid damage model. Acid damage is a new damage model used by cannons and beams to increase block damage without affecting performance. In our tests, this system allowed us to get 90 to 95% of the original damage to be applied as block damage, giving us the possibility of one projectile destroying thousands of blocks without running into performance problems. This achieved by propagating damage outwards block by block, starting from the original origin block. The propagation speed can be adjusted to move faster or slower depending on the processing power and bandwidth of the server. Several bandwidth optimizations have also been made to make the information on removed blocks as small as possible. As a result, even large amounts of blocks getting processed quickly without any hiccups. We can change its behavior while this is propagating as well, allowing for unique damage patterns to be implemented. So, cannons. Cannons are now mainly high-penetration weapons capable of punching through thin armor and leaving a lot of damage in its wake. Like before, each projectile has a penetration depth based on damage. This damage, wow, that's really bright, can range from 1 to 200 blocks. Each block in its penetration line acts as the starting point for acid damage to start from. The damage of the entire projectile is then redistributed accordingly to end up with the appropriate damage shape. Overpenetration. Using cannons with too much damage can cause the projectiles to overpenetrate. This happens only when targets have little to no armor compared to your shot. So, tiny ship, you hit it with a big cannon and it just blows right through. If this happens, then the penetration depth is stretched before the original damage is distributed. This may result in even more system damage, or it may come out the other side of the target and end up wasting most of its damage. Projectile width. By putting down blocks next to your weapon's output, you can increase its projectile width. On impact, this will cause more damage to be directed towards the front, basically shrinking your damage pattern and increasing its width. So instead of going deeper, it hits wider. This can be used to counter many over-penetration or to destroy more superficial blocks if needed. Recoil and impact force. Every cannon projectile applies a force on both the shooter and the target. The force and the amount of movement created solely depends on weapon damage. The physical recoil on your ship is in the opposite way of the firing direction. The impact force on your target is in line with the firing direction, as you would expect. There is also something we call cursor recoil, meant to give a better feeling to cannons and reduce its accuracy slightly when fired manually. It's kept at a manageable level and scales properly with your fire rate and damage. There's also a maximum cursor recoil threshold in place to make sure even the biggest of weapons don't throw your aim around too much. Weapon combinations. The core idea of combination is mostly unchanged, but they behave in different ways now. It is possible to still add or change parts of them depending on the feedback. An overall role of each support should stay the same. The default, all-around decent cannon. Doesn't excel at anything. Cool. Cannon plus cannon, fast-firing machine gun with fast projectiles. It uses the cone wide to narrow damage shape. So the first block may hit like 4 blocks, the one behind it may only hit 1 block. Cannon to missile. Charge cannon with left click to charge, release to fire. The longer it is charged, the better the efficiency and damage of that shot. It also uses the cone wide to narrow damage shape. Cool. Cannon to beam. A slow-firing artillery cannon with narrow to wide cone damage shape. Ho ho. Even when over-penetrating, it will relatively be efficient, but it is hard to hit. Okay, so that's the pulse type, I'm assuming. We've changed the damage back and forth power consumed ratio to be different for each combination. It allows us to balance the high-risk weapons to reliable damage-dealing ones. A slow-firing cannon is always more efficient, as a miss or a bad hit is a huge waste of time and power. Each combination also has a default sniper zoom mode, toggled with the right click. It ranges from 2 to 4 and greatly enhances accuracy along the target ranges. Some examples may include, I'll show those in just a second. So I will put some pictures in of the damage models here. High damage projectiles. Damage beams are mostly about doing surface damage and being easier to use. Beams only apply damage, acid damage, on the block they're hitting. Damage will most likely not reach deep within the target unless you focus fire on a particular spot. The only exception to this rule is the beam support version, where it does penetrate all the way. We've improved the functionality of beams to allow for that. Some versions are capable of traveling along its target without you firing or aiming at it again. They'll deal decent damage, but as well may not be necessarily stay where you want them to go. It's damage over distance. Unlike missiles or cannons, beams lose damage with distance from target. At maximum range, it goes down to only 40% of its original damage. This increases the closer you get until you reach about, original value of about 400 meters or less. This can vary depending on combination and allows us to better balance the hit scan weapon. Combinations. Default, latch-on beam that breaks off when it has no direct line of sight. Ooh, phasers. Beam plus cannon. Aimable beam with short burst time and cooldown. So phase cannons. Beam plus missile. Arc beam with a shorter range but doesn't break when there is no direct line of sight anymore. Has long burst time. I wonder if you can put that on fighters. That would be really cool on fighters. Beam plus beam. Penetrating beam that can't be aimed with your cursor. Okay. I'm assuming you aim it with your ship. The damage of the beam is distributed equally over the blocks in the penetration line, requires to be charged before firing, and stops your shields from blocking damage while you are charging. Yeah, it's a spinal mount beam weapon that you have to turn your shields off for. Oh, that's interesting. So Basically, Death Stars / station destroyers here. Repair beam. The repair beam, or astrotech beam, is now capable of repairing and replacing killed blocks. The reason this has taken longer is several problems to optimize the system for large scale, as well as handling the logic of connections. At the moment, you can only replace blocks in order, as if you press the undo button, but out of order repairing will be added as a follow-up. Cool, they have an idea then. If you connect any amount of storages to your beam computer, it will use those for repairs. If there is no storage attached, the blocks will be taken out of the pilot's personal inventory. So, will this work on stations, I wonder? Or is it going to have to be a turret that has this all in it? I'm assuming you could probably link it to somehow a storage container on the station. If not, you have a ship that's running around with multiple ships worth of stuff that has the ability of being blown up. Perfect. Alright, and if it can't be pulled from a ship inventory, it'll be pulled from the pilot's inventory. Keep in mind, for that balance reason, you are currently not able to repair during battle. That makes sense. And now we have the tractor beam. Tractor beam replaces the push and pull beam for previously releases. This weapon is able to hold another entity in place. It can also move with you as you either rotate or move yourself while firing the beam. It comes with a built-in mode change, so you can push the target further out or pull it in. You can change the firing mode by pressing left Alt. Also now indicated in the context help. Armor. Oh, here we go. Armor is interesting. Armor has been completely redesigned as well. There is no longer an abstract armor hit point. Armor now will count where it is and how thick it is. You can see this in build mode as well as looking in any armor block. Here's how it works. When a bullet hits armor, it checks how many armor blocks come behind that block in its path. The count of armor will stop at any non-armor block or air. That count defined as armor depth. Each armor block now has an armor rating that will get added up, with possible additional bonuses on thicker armor. The resulting total armor value along the armor depth is then compared with the bullet's damage. Is the armor value lower than the bullet's damage, the bullet will travel on as normal and destroy the armor blocks along its way. Is the armor higher value than the target bullet's damage, the bullet will only do acid damage on the first block and stop completely. Is the armor value much higher than the bullet damage, acid damage is not even applied and only a single block gets normal damage and stops completely. Interesting. This will be repeated for every continuous plate of armor. The bullet goes through in a ship, so inner armor is a very viable option now. Why would you mind? Oh my god! Stupid frickin' droids! And here we all go, not doing anything correct. This means that a sufficient armor depth can stop any shot, and also means that it depends on an angle of the shot where the armor is and what type of armor was used. These values mainly affect the penetration of cannon projectiles, although beam acid damage gets affected by the armor rating as well. In addition, the hit points of armor has been increased to make it capable to absorb more damage. You can check your armor rating in build mode by just looking at your armor while having any armor block selected in your hotbar. It will tell you exactly how deep and how much armor the ship has from the angle you are looking from. Note that the armor rating does not scale linear with thickness, but has increased values for every added layer in addition to the flat amount of the block itself. So, stacking penalties? Alright, now we move on to missiles. Missile capacity. To add another layer of using missiles, we added a missile capacity system that will also prevent you from spamming them. By placing missile capacity blocks on your entity, you can increase the maximum amount of missiles to be stored. The missiles are reloaded in bulk as soon as you fire a missile. The reload starts when the timer runs out and all missing missiles are filled up again. For AI-controlled ships, the reload only starts when they run out of missiles. This helps control the amount of missiles flying around. In addition, you require additional power for the missile capacity. This should normally not be a concern unless you're deliberately trying to store too many missiles for your ship's size. So, I like the idea that if it's an AI, it only reloads when it hits empty and then reloads the next magazine of missiles, versus when you're on the ship, it's like it's manned, so you can be topping off your missile capacity as you go. We've also implemented anti-missile prioritization. Each missile has its own shield, protecting it from a point defense turret. The strength of this shield scales with the missile's damage and should also encourage firing more high-damage missiles than trying to flood the field with low-damage decoys. You can set any of your AIs to fire at any category first. High-damage missiles, low-damage missiles, random, closest first to the old system. Missile combinations. The default is a fast-firing, non-tracking missile. Missile plus cannon, heat-seeking swarming missiles. Ooh. Missile plus beam, lock-on missiles. And then, missile plus missile this is a cute one, a bomb with no self-propulsion and uses a ship's velocity as its own. The bomb will ignore shields and does friendly fire as well. It will arm itself after several seconds. It won't detonate. It'll be a dud if it isn't armed yet. So you can't fire it at point-blank range of your target. So bombers out of EVE Online, essentially, and the fact of you can blow yourself up if you're too close to your detonation. Can we do that with drones? Because that would be cool with drones. So really slow ships or stations are going to be, that's going to suck. You're going to have lots of anti-ship weaponry for that. Volley fire. Changing firing mode from focused to unfocused has been changed to a keyboard toggle for all weapons. Default's left alt. We add an additional mode for cannons and missiles as well, volley fire. This mode will take the time to reload the weapon and divide it by the amount of groups connected to that computer. When firing, the groups will fire one after another. Oh. Volley fire can also be set on Bobby AI modules for turrets, drones to use. Oh yay. The HUD graphics have been improved to improve usability, distinction, and improve the general look. All indicators now have also been moved to the center of massive entities. They will still be on the core if you are aligned or in gravity of the entity. So you gotta get right up on top of them. Okay, that's cool. Undocking. Entities will no longer undock when their rail or rail docker is destroyed. However, it will, until those are replaced at the exact position or manually undocked, the dock on a different one, the dock will no longer receive any power from the mothership. This will greatly help lag on larger ship battles where the undocking of turrets and other docks was one of the biggest parts of lag-causing elements. So essentially what they've made it do, you lose rail docks, the things that they're docked to won't move. They're stationary still, like they're still docked, but they lose power. So it's like having it knocked out. So if you have a turret that's shooting wildly and then it becomes primary and the turret docker is destroyed, it powers down. I like that. That's cool. That'll work for me. It'll keep me from having to clean up as much during a battle after a battle anyway as a server admin. Alright, improved graphical effects. The graphical effects for cannons, beams, and missiles have been improved. Also, an all-new LOD system has been implemented, which is currently in use for mines, to be able to have a lot of them in one sector without any problems. The system is written in a way that can be used for a lot of other things in the future. Mines. Why did it have to be mines? New textures. Kupo has done an exceptional job in upgrading the texture to be more crisp than ever before, fixing many previous tiling issues and color inconsistencies. The lead indicator. Cannons and missiles now have a lead indicator based on a selected weapon's projectile speed. Currently, the indicator is based on a target's center of mass, not the core. Okay. Mog, your question has been answered. There it is right there. You better be watching this video. Effects. The old effect computer have all been removed, as most don't have a purpose anymore. We've replaced it with 3 damage type systems with a base value for each weapon type: kinetic, cannons, electromagnetic, missiles, and heat, bombs. You can adjust the basic damage distribution of each weapon by linking it to a specific effect computer you want it to have. There are also defensive reactor chambers to strengthen your ship's structure against these damage types, respectively. So, EVE Online hardeners. Cool. Any damage in the game is now a composition out of these 3 effects. For example, a sun will now do heat damage. We plan to further expand on this system for the universe update. So, what you're telling me is I need to load up a ship full of nothing but heat, resistance, and I'll be able to fly through a star. If I can get that 99% resistance. Sector size and weapon range independency. To make it easier to customize the game for bigger sectors, we added a separable value for server config to set the base damage or base range for weapons independently from the sector's size. This value will be used as reference for all range config values on a block behavior. This value can also be set on the fly with an admin command /set _weapon set _range _reference. If the value is set to 1, all config values will be interpreted as a fixed block unit in meters. Okay, so how's that, like, is that the independent thing? So, because I'm setting up server, if I set my system to be 11 kilometers across, and I set this to 1.1, is it still staying in equilibrium with that? Because now it's still the same range? That's confusing. Clarification, please. Mines. The ability to place down stationary mines was added. This feature comes with an all-new LOD system that will be reused for other model-based things in the future. Mine layers work in like a tiny mobile shipyard with mine layer connected to a mine core, okay, and a storage chest to pull mine blocks from. Next to the mine core, you can place up to 6 specific mine block modifications. The mine core block plus its modifications are used as a blueprint for the mine's capabilities, while the constructed and deployed mine itself is not a block but a small 3D model. Constructing and laying a mine requires blocks from either the pilot's inventory or linked storage. All newly deployed mines are inactive. You can activate them by right-clicking or via the radial ship menu for more options. Mines can be destroyed by being shot or simply physically running into them, which is not always the best idea. You guys made a joke. Mines can also be laid via logic by connecting a logic block to the mine layer. Oh, so you can time it perfectly. Ah. So, you know, if you go speed of like 10 and it clicks off every 5 seconds, you have a pretty good minefield. Cannon mines. The mine fires a cannon projectile when in range. Okay, does it have an... I'm assuming it probably doesn't have a magazine and run out after a period of time, although I would think that would be a smart idea. Missile mine. This mine fires a heat-seeking missile when in range. That seems overpowered. And proximity mine. The classic mine. Once a target gets within range, it activates the mine and will follow the entity that triggered it. It explodes on impact once triggered. It is used up. So, I'm assuming it can't go through to jump. So if you hyperspace away, you're safe. And it would be cool if you could pull them with you if they're close enough already. But I'm assuming they're faster than you. They gotta be faster than the world speed, but not much. So you have that moment of, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. That's what I would do. I'd be mean that way. The following mine modifications are, yeah, that would be cool. Because then if you go really, really fast and then you like hit the space brakes and did a Millennium Falcon U-turn and shot past them while their velocity, I wonder how fast their velocity and like weight would be and all that kind of stuff, because then you could do some funny stuff. Alright, I'm sorry about that. Moving on. The following mine modifications are available. I already read all that. Okay, no. Cannon mine mod turns mine into cannon. Missile mod turns mod into missile mine. Proximity mine mod turns mine into proximity mine. Strength mod increases mine damage. Ooh. Personal AI mod. Mine will not attack the one that laid it down. Ha! So they're all friend or foe without that. Friend AI mine. Mine will only attack the enemies of the person who laid it down. Well, so you can have it indiscriminate, partially discriminate, or very partially discriminate. Cool. I like indiscriminate mines. That just... And then obviously they're going to be more powerful because you can stick like, what, 6 of these on there? So, indiscriminate mines. But also if you forget the minefield's there, which you should not forget your own minefield is there. Cargo damage. Cargo damage. Storage chest blocks. The controllers don't get physically destroyed anymore unless they're empty or have no linked used volume remaining. This block, or group of blocks, is destroyed on pass-through if the connected storage has no remaining items. Okay. If the storage has remaining items, the damage is done to the stored items themselves, meaning that items are being destroyed and emptying out of the storage. Hit points are irrelevant to these blocks, as every shot will do pass-through damage. The shot will not lose any strength and continue. The storage will lose items on every storage block the shot passes through. The storage block has the same mechanics as the cargo block. Ow. So, armor. Armor up all your freighters, guys. Integrity changes. Warp gate, race gate, activation gate, doors, factories, cargo, logic connections, all real connections, mass enhancers, transporter, sensors, and shop will now be completely ignore integrity. Thank you. Integrity will no longer lower while a ship is in battle. When a system block is destroyed, integrity will not update for 5 minutes and only then update itself to the new correct value. This timer resets every time a system block gets taken out. So your ship won't just like nuke itself if you blow on it, right? That's what you're talking about. Like if it's integrity. I haven't completely understand the integrity systems yet, mainly because I have an issue that keeps me from going into combat with my ships finally right now. This means any ship equally viable in terms of integrity, as long as its integrity is positive when going into battle. It will also help with lag from explosions and the snowball effect once a ship dips into negative integrity. So you'll be all fine and everything dandy, and then all of a sudden you just have a warp core breach. Okay. I mean, after you win, of course, or you just explode anyway due to just massive amounts of damage. AI. The AI now uses a better system to gauge their weapon range. Also, their aiming has been fixed and improved. So, do we have like T-800s out there yet now? Is that what you're talking about? The pirates are going to suck more? Shield changes. Shields now always regenerate over time. Again, when under fire, only lose regeneration when the shield HP goes down. When not under fire, the shields will always regenerate at full speed. Any shield starts in the strongest configuration. Any shield starts in the strongest configuration and can be weakened through high damage weapons. If it is a recharge focused shield... Oh wait, that makes no sense. Alright. When not under fire, the shields will always regenerate at full speed. Any shield starts in its strongest configuration and can be weakened through high damage weapons if it is a recharge focused shield. Alright, so if you go with less buff, more recharge, you just have to do high damage to get through it. Or by a steady stream of small weapon fire if it is a capacity-focused shield, just constant hammering on it. Shield buff, tank. The config was changed to allow for that, and you may end up with a disproportionate amount of regeneration versus capacity with your current build. Make sure you double-check your regeneration, make sure it's still positive. The new Izanth. Landcake has updated the old Izanth systems to use new power and the new weapons. Be aware these ships pack quite a punch now. The new model will automatically replace the blueprints of old ones upon start. If you have modified and overwritten those blueprints with the exact same names, be sure to make it back up before running the new version. Block hit points. All block HP are being migrated to a new system that supports any amount of HP, while at the same time not increasing amount of data used for hit points for memory reasons. The only difference would be that a block with max HP higher than 127 needs a minimum damage dealt to it before it takes a hit. The minimum amount of damage is X divided by 127. This means that you need at least around 8 damage to hurt a block with 1,000 max hit points. New admin commands. Oh, look at these. Alright, kick players out of entity ULD. Entity, alright, then you add the entity name. Kick player from entity, player name. BP info, blueprint name, populates information about specific blueprint. Delete blueprint, blueprint set owner, clear mines here. Ooh, so that one's going to be important. So it's /clear _mines _ here, clears mines in current sector. Or there's clear mines sector, XYZ, clears mines in specific sectors. Reset repair delay, resets repair delay on selected entered vessel. Reset integrity delay, rail reset all. So undock, redock rail of only the selected entity or all entities in an entity. /set weapon range reference. Sets the weapon reference range distance in meters, which the config values are multiplied with. Default is sector distance. Okay, yeah, so if you don't change it, that's so weird. I'm going to have to go look at that later. So so if you change it to being where my weapon range is vastly further than the sector I'm in, that's separate now. But the default is default sector distance, so if I made bigger sectors, the weapons have longer range, unless I go and mess with that thing. Okay, which I want to do, because I want to have bigger sectors, but I want to have shorter ranges. I think. I'm not totally sure. Hit me up in the comments below. Let's see, faction set entity UID. So sets faction of an entity by the UID. So, okay, a lot of cool, interesting things to use there. If you wish to have those, more about that currently, if you go to star-made.org/news, it's in the, there's admin commands here. All entity info commands have been updated with more info. Also, the sector mod command has been updated for sector mods. The rail commands can be used in case there is still some sort of misalignment or to fix old blueprints quickly. So if you load a blueprint and all your stuff falls off, I guess. Optimizations. Several optimizations have been made to the game. The rewrite of the weapon and general usable module system made the amount of steps involved pretty much every weapon and continue module related a lot less. Not only does this result in a much cleaner code, but also general speed up. The update system for modules is now on demand, which means the system will not bother to even check if the blocks of a group changed as long as there hasn't been an actual notification for that. This means that the general idle time for all entities has been cut down significantly. This is very noticeable in sectors with a lot of entities and docks. Block processing has been optimized to minimize the amount of lookups by grouping all changes by chunk. This also cuts down on synchronization time between threads and clean up the code considerably in that section. This makes block processing in general a lot quicker, especially during battles. Block change recording has been completely rewritten to minimize memory usage and sterilization size. Beams have been optimized to work a lot faster. Remove some bottlenecks that were occurring in big fights. Thread spool up to remove short freezes after starting the game. A ton of small optimizations across the board. Memory optimizations for particle systems and log cleanup during ship battles. Now, here are the actual numbers. Here's the config changes, guys. Blocks. Advanced armor. Effective HP went from 1,000 to 2,000 hit points. Armor rating, 1,000. Standard armor went from 250 to 800. Armor rating is 750. Basic armor, previously hull, Effective HP went from 75 to 250. Armor rating, 500. Now the recipe for basic armor is 1 metal mesh, 1 crystal composite, and 1 fertikine capsule. Holy crap, that's a lot of fertikine we're going to have to be using now. Hopefully you guys changed how much fertikine drops, right? If not, ships are going to be a lot smaller. Systems. Shields. Shield capacity block went from 400 to 250. Ouch. Shield recharge went from 20 to 25, though. Okay, so more blocks for capacity, less blocks for recharge. Default capacity went from 200 to 0. Default radius went from 25 to 10. Local shield radius multiplier is 10, went down to 7.5. Shield upkeep percentage of hit points a second went from 0.5% to 2%. Wait, like actual 2%, or is that 0.2%? Because that's a lot more power. Shield power consumption resting block went from 1 to 0.4. That's a okay. Shield power consumption charging 1 to 0.8. Shield under fire time 30 seconds since last shot. Shield minimum recharge is 20%. Shield minimum recharge reached at 50% capacity. So you get the 20% per tick at 50% capacity. So it's lower. Wait. No, I guess it goes higher after 50%. Okay. Overheat timer. Minimum time 60 seconds. Maximum time 600 seconds. Time added / block is 0.001 seconds. So the bigger ship is going to have a lot more time. I guess that hasn't really changed too much since it's gray. Stabilization stream, max cooldown when hit is 60. It went down to 15 seconds. Wow. Power regen and cooldown 20% went up to 25%. Reactor. Chamber blocks needed per reactor block was 0.5 per. Now it's 0.25 per. So that's going to greatly reduce the size of our warp drives by half. Integrity. Start value is 200. Has now been up to 400. Nice. Collection integrity update delay under fire is 300 seconds. So 5 minutes. I think. That's 5 minutes. Mine layer. Let's see. Layable mine distance 10 meters. Cannon damage strength 1,000. Cannon reload is 0.5 seconds. What? Okay. Cannon speed is 2 times universe speed. Wow. Missile damage per strength is 10,000. Missile reload is 10 seconds. Missile speed is 1.5 times universe speed. Proximity damage per strength is 10,000, and it bypasses shields. Oh. Proximity speed is half times the universe speed. Okay, so it's not going to outrun you. That would be evil, though. So you... Okay. They're still viable. Tractor beam. Movable mass per module is 5 mass. Maximum force is 10 times the target mass. Power consumption resting is 10. Power consumption charging is 50. Distance is 400 meters. Okay. I mean, salvage beam. Salvage damage went from 10 to 25 a tick. So they're 2.5 times more powerful now. However, this goes with why my stuff wasn't working this morning. Power consumption. It went from 3 to 5. Power consumption charging is 15 to 25. So it is scaling. But not completely. 10 to 25, and that went from 15 to 25. You're actually getting better charge out of it in the end than you were regular. So, yay. Ticks per second went from 40 to 16. So they sped up the ticks per second. So mining is a lot more efficient now. The repair beam modules / tick module 1. Power consumption is 5. Power consumption charging is 25. Ticks per second is 20. Repair out of combat delay is 60 seconds. And then they have a bunch of little bug fixes here, like visual glitches, fixed missiles, fixed tool tips, fixed beam textures, fixed shields not always providing protection, Fixed stabilizers dropping to 0 and 1% during block placement. Fixed crash caused by undoing a large amount of blocks. Fixed issue where thrust does not consume the right amount of power. Fixed crash caused by linking mass. Fixed warp gate distance. Fixed stealth strength. Fixed shipyards. Several issues and added shipyard logs. Thank God Mog will be happy now. Fixed turret aim and rotation not working correctly / stopped after a while. Fixed sudden rail misalignments. Horizontal turrets. Fixed chunk corruption. Fixed missiles not working in sector borders. Fixed slot desync. Fixed lag compensation causing entities to not rotate correctly. Fixed stalling missiles now timeout to not cause performance hit. Will be fully fixed in follow-up. Okay, what's next? Next is going to be a bug fixing and cleanup round. We'll be trying to make the game as stable as possible for the period of the universe update development. Other changes might include reactor chamber balance changes and small changes to weapons based on feedback. We already started with some aspects of the universe update in the background, and we will now focus more and more on that. We can't promise a universe-related dev build for a little while, but there might be a few highly experimental test builds before that. Thank you for playing Starmade, the Shine team. And thank you guys for this wonderful update. I am a little miffed about the fact that I have to literally fix the things I've been working out for the last 2 weeks, but that's my own problem and not yours. I am now highly looking forward to playing with weapons, small ships, large ships, and building more, plus running a server. So thank you guys for a wonderful game, and if you guys have any questions, please hit them up in the comments below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Jack out.